Morning everyone, it's week 7. Good week this week. Our numbers are down for our infections for COVID-19. Collingwood had a great win over Carlton, which is good news for those of us who are Collingwood supporters, and just a bit sad for those who are Carlton. Well, actually it's great news anyway. A couple of other things. This week we've changed from just looking at the earth, and we're looking now at climate and weather, and then we're going to work our way into natural phenomena and a few other things about the earth and about its weather. We'll also, in our booklet this week, we're having a look at apostrophes, we're having a look at some more handwriting, and then in maths we move across to our work on fractions extended, where we start to look at decimals and we start to look at percentages, which, whilst they sound a bit horrific, a bit scary, they're actually quite simple and they're related to fractions. Now, with every week, I want you to remember, if you're not sure about a sheet, ask, send me an email and we can figure it out. This is a bit of a taxing time. We'll be back at school either early next term, first up next term, or maybe later this term, but probably next term. And anything you don't understand, I'm going to catch up on. Because as I correct your work, I'm writing down notes and I'm remembering everything that we need to go over, and we will do it in the classroom. You know we pick things up when we do it in the classroom together. With maths this week, I've just done one set of sheets. I want you to do the best you can and get through as many as you can. But you don't have to do them all unless you can. That doesn't mean you get the excuse to not do enough, because, you know, I've got some work back from people who said, oh yeah, I got a day off this week, and haven't done all of the word study activities. They haven't done all of this, they haven't done all of that. How do you do that? Now, this is a good opportunity for you to be practicing your ability to cope with high school. High school is things being set for you, and you having to motivate yourself. You've got to start setting yourself reasonable goals. Most of you I'm really pleased with. You're really extending yourself out. And that's brilliant. You will reap the benefits of this time. You will find yourself next year as easier. But look, what I want to do now is I want to show you something about decimals that I hope you understand before this, but this will just make it a little clearer. Thank you. Hang on, we'll be back in a sec. Now, we all know what these are. These are thousands. We all know what these are. These are hundreds, these are flats. And we use those all through our primary school careers. And couldn't find any longs, but we know what longs are. Longs are like I've cut one of those off. And then, of course, we come down to our units. Now, we know all about that, and we talked about place value, and we've talked about how much each thing is valued. This is a unit. 10 of these make a long, 10 longs make a flat, 10 flats make 1,000. 10 ones make a 10, 10 tens make 100, and 10 hundreds make 1,000. Pretty straightforward. Now, when we move into decimals, we're moving to the other side of the decimal point. And we did this earlier on this year. If I go to the other side of the decimal point, in other words, we're going below 1 now. We're going below 1. We're moving to the right of the decimal point. I've got a unit here, and if I chop it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the last one I split in 2. I've cut that up into 10 pieces. That means each one of these will be 1/10 of 1 whole. We'd write that 1/10. We can also write it as a decimal as 0, meaning there are no solids, no ones, 0.1, 1/10. 10 of these make 1 unit. Listen to that. 10 of these make 1 whole or 1 unit. Now, let's say I got one of these and I chopped it up into 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I go all the way through and I chop it up into 10. I end up with one of these. No, not for picking things out of your teeth, but one of these. And what would that be? I've taken one unit and chopped it up into 10 and ended up with one of these, and we said that was 1/10 or 0.1. Now I've chopped one of those 1/10ths up into 10 equal pieces. That means this will be 1/100th of one whole unit, or one whole. I can write this as the first little piece there I could write as 0.1. That's 0.1. This, I can write that as 0, meaning no units, 0.01. And then, zero point 1/10. Little toothpick, 0.01, meaning there are no tenths, but there is 1/100th. Now if I chop that up again, into 10 equal bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We won't go through the whole lot, otherwise I'll end up taking the end off my finger. And I get that tiny little piece there. On the end of my finger. What would that be? I'm going again, that's going to be 1/1000th. So I've gone 1 unit, 1/10, cut it into 10 pieces. Then I cut those tenths into 10 equal pieces, that's 100. Then I cut that into 10 equal pieces, that's 1/1000th. And that's how I get decimals, and that's what they are. They're simple fractions. We write them a bit differently though, don't we? So we'll have a look on the board. One point zero. That's one whole. Pretty simple. One whole. Just adjust that camera a little bit. There we go. Then I went down to 1/10. I chopped that into 10 equal pieces. That way we went to this. Right? Pretty straightforward. Then I chopped that into 10 equal pieces. Notice I'm moving, this is the 10th column. Now I'm moving over here, there's the 10th column. There's the 100. Now we remember this when we did place value, right? Now, 1,000, no wholes, no tenths, no hundreds, 1,000. And this is over here in the thousandth column. So we've got the ones or the wholes, got the tenths, got the hundreds. Now we've done that in place value, and I think that made a bit of sense. What we're doing is we're having a look at something else now. Most of the pages are quite simple, but I'm going to bring in a fella here. I'm going to bring in something called percentages. And we go shopping and we see this next to something, and it might say 10% off, 50% off, 30% off. We see it a lot. Well, see this here, I've got a stick, and I've got 2 zeros. Because percentages are always out of 100. Right? Percentages are always out of 100. So if I have 70 hundredths, that's actually the same as 70%. If I have 7 tenths, which is 70 hundredths, that's the same as 70%. And you go, what? What you doing there? The tenths, it can't be the same. Look, multiply this by 10, multiply that by 10. Percentages are always out of 100. Here we go. Now, the activities this week are based around just getting used to percentages in relation to decimals. And occasionally they talk about fractions. And they go, oh, what would a quarter be? What would a quarter be as a percentage? Well, they might ask you what a tenth would be, and they say, they make it a bit harder because they ask you to start with a normal old boring old fraction and turn it into a... Well, let's start with something fairly easy. We know 1/10 is the same as 0.1, right? I wonder what that would be as a percentage. I wonder what that would be as a percentage. And everyone's really tempted to say, oh, 1%, look, 1%. But no, it wouldn't be. Because percentages are out of 100. So we want to know what a tenth is in hundredths. What would a tenth be out of 100? What did I do to 10? Times it by 10. What do I do to 1? Times it by 10. And all of a sudden, I have 10 hundredths, and that will equal 10%. So there's our answer for that one. Now I threw this quarter up before, didn't I? Let's have a look at a quarter. Now we know it's out of 100. Well, what do I do to 4 to get to 100? It's not a table. But I know 250s. 250s are 100. 4. I've got to divide 100 by 4. Oh, it's going to be 25, isn't it? There you go. So that's what a lot of our work is concerned about this week. Just turning fractions, decimals into percentages. It's just a bit of fun with that. If you have any troubles with it, ask me. Send me a little email and ask me, and we'll do a little Zoom and we'll have a chat about it. Okay? All right. Enjoy your week. It's going to be lovely some days, a bit rough the next. Make sure you get outside for your exercise. Make sure you just do your best. That's all. Some of this might be really hard, so leave it. And ask me a question. Send me an email. I'm really struggling with page 4. I'll get back to you. We'll have a little Zoom meeting and we'll work it out. Alrighty? Now our cooking, we start this week. Cooking, I wonder if any of you had a chance to do the chili con carne. I'll cook it for anyone. It was very nice, by the way. Very nice indeed. People who ate it were very impressed. Even the teachers ate it. Kids ate it. Everybody ate it. So you might be able to do that at some stage. I'll have the chili con carne recipe up in our grade 6, week 6. So last week's area. I'll have the recipe and a couple of pictures up there for you. Okay? So we kick that off today. 1 o'clock. See you at the Zoom meeting.